Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise, get straight to the essential insights you need so you can be truly well informed. Today, we're navigating a journey that's, well, it's pretty crucial for countless businesses globally. We're talking about the complex world of SAP S/4HANA data migration. We're unpacking a really comprehensive guide here. It's the SAP. This isn't just theory. It's a detailed look at how one company, SAP, actually tackled their own migration. So it's a chance to get some real-world lessons from their experience.
Absolutely. And our mission today really is to pull out the core insights from this deep dive, give you a clear understanding of what SAP S/4HANA actually is, its different editions, and maybe most importantly, the different paths and tools you have for migrating your data. By the end, you should have a much, much clearer picture of this whole transformation.
Yeah, our goal is really to cut through the complexity. It can feel overwhelming, this topic. We want to focus on the insights that, truly matter without getting bogged down in jargon. Let's dive in. So let's start with the big picture. SAP ERP. It's been evolving since, the 1970s?
A long time.
A very long time. But then came SAP HANA, and that seems to be where things really shifted. Instead of designing their software for other companies' databases, SAP went and created their own, an innovative in-memory database.
That's exactly right, HANA. It stands for High Performance Analytical Appliance, which basically means it's this unique mix of hardware and software all designed for speed. It's an in-memory database, so the data lives in RAM mostly, and it uses a columnar structure. That combination, it just allows for incredible speed, real-time processing, fast analytics.
Okay, so SAP HANA, that's the database layer,
Yeah.
the foundation. But there's this really critical distinction, isn't there? You hear SAP Business Suite on HANA thrown around. How's that different from SAP S/4HANA itself? Where does one end and the other begin?
Yeah, that's a fundamental point, really key to grasp. So when an existing SAP ECC customer moves their database, just the database, over to HANA without changing their application version, that's SAP Business Suite on HANA, they definitely get a performance boost from the HANA database underneath, but the applications, the user interface, it's all largely the same ECC system they're used to. It's a simpler upgrade, relatively speaking.
Less disruption for users, perhaps.
Exactly. Now, SAP S/4HANA, that's completely different. It's the next generation SAP Business Suite. It's genuinely SAP's biggest innovation since SAP R/3, way back when. It was specifically designed, built from the ground up on the SAP HANA platform to really leverage what HANA can do. It's a completely reimagined system.
So S/4HANA isn't just faster ECC. It's fundamentally different because it's built for HANA. The source talks about this run simple philosophy with S/4HANA. Beyond the tech specs, what's the biggest practical difference a company feels, when they embrace S/4HANA, especially with those innovations you mentioned?
Oh, the practical difference is huge. First, there are these major application optimizations. SAP redesigned things to really exploit HANA's in-memory speed. Like, they removed aggregate tables, slashed the data footprint. It's not just faster, it makes the underlying processes cleaner, simpler. Second, the user experience is totally different. Responsive UX, S/4HANA uses SAP Fiori, which is role-based. It's a world away from the old SAP screens. Users get something much more intuitive, personalized.
More like modern web apps, less like, old SAP.
Precisely. And third, it unifies functionality in the core. SAP got rid of a lot of redundancy. One functionality for one objective. That simplifies the IT landscape, simplifies business processes, just makes things cleaner.
Okay, that helps paint the picture of the real-world impact. So S/4HANA is this next-gen suite. How does a business actually, get it? What are the deployment choices they have?
Right. Two main choices here. First, there's the on-premise edition. This gives you, broadly speaking, similar functionality, industry coverage, languages, all that stuff, compared to the traditional SAP Business Suite. For existing customers, moving to on-premise S/4HANA often involves a kind of one-step procedure. It combines the database migration to HANA and the installation of the new S/4HANA core components.
Okay, so you can keep it in-house, similar scope to what you might have now. What's the other option?
The other is the cloud edition. This tends to be more focused, specific business scenarios, maybe marketing, professional services, or it provides the essential digital core functions, finance, procurement, sales. And it's really designed for seamless integration with other SAP cloud services, things like SuccessFactors for HR or Ariba for procurement.
Got it. On-premise for comprehensive control, cloud for maybe faster innovation in specific areas and integration. Okay, let's unpack the next big piece then. The actual transition. Because businesses don't just, flip a switch. The cookbook lays out 3 distinct scenarios for how you can implement S/4HANA. And it sounds like the choice really hinges on a business's goals and where they are right now, their current IT setup.
Absolutely. The three paths are quite different. Each one fits different strategic needs. So the first one is new implementation. You'll often hear this called greenfield. It means exactly what it sounds like. A completely fresh, brand new installation of S/4HANA. Could be on-premise, could be cloud. This is ideal for maybe a company that's totally new to SAP, or an existing SAP customer who just wants to start completely clean, wipe the slate clean.
And the data, you migrate that in.
Yep, all the data, master data, transactional data gets migrated from the legacy systems. And those legacy systems could be anything, really. Non-SAP systems, or maybe very old, heavily customized SAP systems.
So, a total fresh start. What kind of company really goes for that? What's the driver for saying, let's just start over?
Often, it's when the main goal is serious re-engineering. Process simplification. They want to leverage the latest innovations right away. Predictive analytics, IoT, that kind of thing. It's also a fantastic chance to ditch loads of old, outdated custom code. That stuff gets expensive to maintain, right? And it often holds you back from adopting new features.
Yeah, the technical debt argument.
Exactly. And it's also the way to go if your current SAP system is maybe too old or just too heavily customized, or maybe it doesn't even meet the technical prerequisites for the other type of conversion. The benefits: you get pre-configured best practices, you can use predefined migration tools, and you get to adopt those new innovations really quickly.
Okay, greenfield.
Yeah.
Clean slate, process focus. What's the second scenario?
The second one is system conversion, often called brownfield. This is where you convert an existing SAP Business Suite ERP system, your current system in place, directly to S/4HANA. It's basically a technical upgrade, a conversion of the system you already have.
Okay, so not starting fresh. You're transforming what's already there. What's the main appeal of this? Why choose brownfield? Maybe what's the biggest risk it helps avoid?
Well, the main driver here is usually wanting to bring your current business processes onto the new S/4HANA platform, but crucially, you want to preserve your investment in your existing custom code, at least initially. It helps manage risk, you see, because the project scope is mainly focused on the technical conversion. You can then choose to adopt the new S/4HANA innovations like Fiori apps in a more phased way later on, less big bang.
So faster time to value, perhaps, because you're not redesigning everything up front.
Potentially, yes. It often allows for a faster go-live while keeping much of the business process familiarity for users. Technically speaking, it's a tool-based conversion. SAP provides the Software Update Manager, SUM. That's the key tool. It handles the database migration to ANA. It converts the old ERP data model to the new S/4HANA model, including handling simplifications, and it replaces the old application code with the new S/4HANA code. One important point, though. It doesn't force you to switch all your users to Fiori UIs immediately. You can introduce those more gradually.
And are there prerequisites? Can any ECC system do this?
Good question. No, there are key prerequisites. Your starting point has to be a single AIP 6.0, ideally the latest enhancement pack. The system must be Unicode compliant, and it needs to be a single ABAP-only stack, no dual-stack systems.
That sounds like a pretty hefty technical project, even if it's not a full redesign. Can you maybe break down the process? What are the main stages? Where do things get tricky?
Sure. The source breaks it down into roughly 3 segments. First is pre-conversion activities. This is critical prep work. You typically create a sandbox system, do some dry runs. You apply specific SAP notes for consistency checks, fix any errors those checks find. And crucially, this is where you adapt your custom ABAP code. You need to figure out what code isn't even used anymore. Tools like UPL or SCMON can help there, so you can potentially decommission it. And the code you are keeping, you need to modify it using tools like the ABAP Test Cockpit, ATC, to make sure it's compatible with HA and the S/4HANA data structures.
That custom code part, that sounds like potentially the biggest hurdle. Is that usually where the effort goes?
Oh, absolutely. That custom code adaptation is very often the most time-consuming and complex part of a brownfield conversion. Some companies have decades of custom code built up, making sure it all works correctly and performs well on the new S/4HANA data model. That takes meticulous analysis, testing, and often, significant rewrites.
Okay, so lots of upfront work in pre-conversion. What's next?
Second is the actual system conversion. Once all that prep is done, the technical team, the basis consultants, they start the conversion using that SUM tool, usually with the database migration option or DMO. This is the part that actually moves the data to the HANA database and technically converts the ECC system to S/4HANA.
The main event, so to speak.
Kind of, yeah. And then finally, post-conversion activities. After the technical conversion finishes, the functional consultants come in. They check the business impact, verify things are working as expected, perform any necessary follow-up activities. Could be checking financial postings, testing key business process flows, things like that.
Right, so greenfield is new start, brownfield is convert in place. What's the third scenario?
The third one is landscape transformation. This is a bit different. It's not about a single system conversion, usually. It might be about consolidating, say, several regional SAP Business Suite systems into one single global S/4HANA system. Or it could involve selective data migration. Maybe you only want to move certain parts of the business, certain legal entities, like specific company codes, into S/4HANA initially. The SAP Central Finance scenario also falls under this umbrella.
Ah, so it's more about restructuring or strategically moving pieces of the landscape rather than a whole system replacement or conversion.
Exactly. You'd choose this if you want to consolidate your SAP landscape or if you want to transform your data very selectively. The benefits? Well, it allows for a value-based migration. You can take a phased approach, maybe focus on the parts of the business with the highest potential ROI first. It offers agility, lets you move to S/4HANA at your own pace, and potentially it can reduce your total cost of ownership through system consolidation, harmonizing processes, unifying master data.
But that sounds flexible, but maybe more complex to manage.
It can be. And there's an important caveat the source mentions. Currently, this landscape transformation scenario usually requires direct involvement from SAP services or a specialized consulting partner. There isn't like a standard, generally available tool set that customers can just pick up and use themselves for this type of selective migration.
Okay, that's a key distinction. Requires expert help for that one.
Right.
That clarifies the three main paths. Well, now let's maybe drill down a bit. Let's go back to that new implementation or greenfield path, specifically the tools for getting the data across. This seems like where the rubber really meets the road for data migration.
Yes, absolutely. For data migration in S/4HANA on-premise, particularly in that greenfield scenario, the cookbook focuses on comparing two main tools. There's the S/4HANA Migration Cockpit, often just called MC, and SAP Rapid Data Migration with Data Services, or DS.
Okay, Migration Cockpit, MC, that sounds newer.
It is. It's the newer tool, and it's shipped exclusively with S/4HANA itself, starting from the 1610 release. So no extra add-ons to install, no special UI activation needed once S/4HANA is up and running. It actually started out mainly for the Cloud Edition, but it's now fully available for on-premise too. And it has a companion tool, the Migration Object Modeler, or MMOM. That's a design tool, just for on-premise, that lets you tweak or enhance the standard migration objects SAP provides.
And how do you use it? Is it like the old SAP GUI?
No, it's browser-based, a WebDyn Pro interface. Typically, you access it using transaction code LTMC on your on-premise system.
Okay, browser-based, built-in. What are the main advantages and maybe the catches? What's the trade-off you make when you choose the Migration Cockpit?
The big pros are definitely that it's embedded right there in S/4HANA. And critically, no programming is required from the customer side to use it. It works with predefined migration objects templates, essentially for master and transactional data. This can really cut down on migration cost and time. And the activities it guides you through are pretty straightforward.
Sounds good. What are the limitations then?
Well, the limitations are significant too. It doesn't have any built-in data cleansing capabilities, none at all. It also can't directly extract data from source systems. You have to prepare the data externally, usually in files based on its templates. And probably the biggest limitation, its underlying APIs only support insert actions. That means you can load data in initially, but you can't use it to easily reload or update data that's already in S/4HANA. No upsert or update capability. It's really designed for that initial load into a clean system.
Ah, okay. So good for initial load, simple data, but not for complex transformations or updates. What's the alternative then? Data services.
Right. SAP Rapid Data Migration with Data Services, or DS.
Oh.
Before the Migration Cockpit became the standard, DS was the main recommended, fully supported tool for S/4HANA on-premise data migration. It does require separate installation, though. It's a standalone product.
And what does data services bring to the table that MC lacks? What are its strengths?
Data Services is a full-blown ETL tool. That's extraction, transformation, load. It has really comprehensive capabilities there. It also offers powerful data quality management features, though the advanced ones require a separate license and text data processing. Its key strengths are definitely those robust data cleansing options and its ability to connect directly to a wide range of source systems, whether they're flat files or other databases. It typically uses iDocs for posting data into SSC, which is a well-established, reliable method.
Okay, so more power, more flexibility, especially around data quality and extraction. What's the downside?
The main cons are that it requires that separate installation and setup. You need data services itself, potentially the BI platform to run it on. And as I mentioned, if you want the really advanced data cleansing and profiling features, you need the full SAP Data Services license, which adds cost. It's just a more involved setup compared to the built-in migration cockpit.
Okay, let me see if I've got this. Migration Cockpit. Simpler, faster, built-in, great if your data is pretty clean and fits the standard templates. Good for straightforward greenfield. But no cleansing, limited extraction, insert only. Data services. More powerful, handles complex transformations, data cleansing, connects to more sources, uses iDocs, but requires separate install, setup, potentially extra licenses, and probably more expertise to run.
That's an excellent summary. Yeah, your data's current state, how clean it is, and how much transformation you need, those are really the key factors in deciding between them for a greenfield project. And to really make this concrete, let's look at SAPSOL's own journey. The cookbook dives deep into their experience. After looking at all the options, they decided the new implementation scenario, the greenfield approach, was right for them. And specifically for that implementation, they chose to use the Migration Cockpit and the Migration Object Modeler tools. This was for their S/4HANA on-premise system, the 1610 release. Now, they opted for the Migration Cockpit, which sounds like the simpler tool, right? But their experience really highlights something crucial. Just because the tool is simpler doesn't mean the data is simpler.
Interesting point.
Yeah, their real challenge shifted. It wasn't about complex ETL coding anymore. It became about extremely meticulous data preparation, data validation, and data cleansing before they even got to the migration cockpit. So it really underscores that for greenfield projects, the cockpit is a fantastic enabler if your source data governance is already strong. If it's not, well, the cockpit will just surface all those existing data quality problems very, very clearly, maybe even brutally.
That's a really powerful lesson. The tool choice influences where the effort goes. So even with the simpler tool, the hard work on data quality still has to happen, maybe even more intensely up front. And the scope of their migration wasn't trivial, right? It showed the tool could handle quite a bit, even back in the 1610 release.
Definitely. The 1610 release provided, I think it was 32 predefined migration objects out of the box. Things like customer master, vendor master, sales orders, material master. And that number has grown significantly in later S/4HANA releases, showing how the tool's coverage has expanded.
So it was capable even then. Can you walk us through how they actually used it? The cookbook gives an example with Bank Master Data, right?
Yeah.
The BNKA table.
Yes, exactly. It provides a good step-by-step. Let's go through the high-level flow based on that example. First, you log in and access the migration cockpit. As we said, usually transaction LTMC. Once you're in, you create a new migration project. Each project gets its own unique ID, a mass transfer ID.
And these projects, are they usually for one specific data object like banks? Or can you group related objects in one project?
You can manage multiple objects within a single project, but you typically work with one migration object at a time within that project. So next, you'd select the specific migration object you want to load, like migration of banks in their example. You do need to pay attention to dependencies here. For instance, you can't load bills of materials before you've loaded the materials they belong to, so order matters. Then, for the selected object, you download the template file SAP provides. It's actually an XML file, but it usually opens nicely in Excel. Now comes the offline work. You need to extract the relevant data from your legacy system. In SAPSOL's case, they pulled data from the BNKA table in their old ECC system, and you carefully populate this downloaded template file with that data.
This sounds like where the data cleansing and validation effort really happens, outside the tool.
Precisely. You fill the template, making sure the data is correct and formatted properly. Once it's ready, you upload this whole file back into the migration cockpit. When you first upload it, it usually shows a status like not active.
Does it do any checks right away on upload, or is it just accepting the file?
It does some basic structural checks, making sure the file format is right, columns match, things like that. But the deeper validation, like checking if values are valid in S/4HANA, that comes in later steps. So after uploading, you activate the file, and then you start the transfer process. You'll see a progress bar. You monitor how it's going, check for messages in the notification area or the application logs if something goes wrong. There's a really important step called convert values. This is where the system might identify values from your source file that need to be mapped to specific values in the target S/4HANA system, like maybe mapping old region codes to new ones. If your template already contains the correct target S/4HANA values, you might just need to confirm the mapping is okay.
So a chance to catch mapping issues before the final load.
Exactly. And then before committing the data, you typically run a simulate import. This does a deeper check, simulating the actual posting without writing to the database. This is where many data quality errors or missing configuration issues will likely surface. If the simulation looks clean, then you go ahead and execute import. This is the step that actually loads the data into the S/4HANA tables. Once that completes successfully, the data is in, and you finish the migration for that object.
And the cookbook shows the result, right? The before and after.
Yes, it clearly shows the outcome from SAPSOL's example, the B&KA table in their new S/4HANA system, which they called S1H, successfully populated with the banked data from their old ECC system, S&C Client 400. It shows the tool worked, the data got across cleanly.
That concrete example really helps visualize the process.
It does. And just briefly, they also mentioned using the Migration Object Modeler, MOM, transaction LTMOM. While its capabilities were maybe a bit more limited back in the 1610 release they used, MOM is the tool you'd use if the standard SAP-provided migration object template isn't quite right for your needs. It lets you, for instance, add custom fields, change field mappings, or adjust the source target structures. Gives you that bit of flexibility.
Okay, good to know there's an option for customization there too.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground, the tech, the paths, the tools, a real-world case. What's the ultimate takeaway here for someone listening? Maybe they're prepping for a meeting, trying to get up to speed in this area, or maybe just curious. What should they really focus on? The cookbook itself wraps up with some critical questions businesses need to ask before they even start down this S/4HANA migration path. Those seem pretty central.
They absolutely are, because getting the strategy right up front is key. These questions really force that strategic thinking. First, what's your target deployment? On-premise or cloud? That basic choice drives so much else. Second, what data do you actually need to bring across from your source systems? Is it just customizing settings, master data, open transactions, historical balances? Defining that scope clearly is crucial. Don't just migrate everything because you can.
Right, avoid migrating junk data.
Exactly. Third, what are your source systems? How many? What type are they? Is there any central master data management already in place? This helps determine the complexity and the right tools. Fourth, and this is often the big one, is the data going to be migrated as is, or does it need significant transformation, cleansing, quality improvement before it moves? Be honest about your data quality. That upfront assessment is critical.
That feels like the recurring theme, data quality matters immensely.
It does. And finally, who needs to be involved? What key decisions need to be made early on? Who are the main business stakeholders, the sponsors? This isn't just an IP project, it's a business transformation. So getting the governance and change management right is vital.
Yeah, those questions really hit home, that this is way more than just a technical upgrade. It's a major strategic business decision. Requires serious planning, clear goals.
Yes.
So just to quickly recap our deep dive today, we really clarified that key distinction between just running your old SAP Business Suite on the Azure database versus moving to the truly next-generation SAP S/4HANA. We explored the three main ways to get there: new implementation, greenfield, system conversion, brownfield, and the more specialized landscape transformation, each with its own pros, cons, and best fit scenarios. And we dug into the main tools for data migration in that greenfield context, the built-in S/4HANA migration cockpit versus the more powerful standalone SAP data services, looking at their strengths, weaknesses, and when you might choose one over the other, informed by that SAP Pile example.
Yeah, and maybe to leave you with a final thought, connecting this all back. This journey to S/4HANA, it's not really just about updating software, is it? It's a massive opportunity, a chance to actually redefine your business processes, maybe unlock completely new capabilities needed for today's digital economy. And while the technical pathways, the tools like MC or DS, are becoming clearer, real success, it often hinges less on the tool itself and more on, number one, the absolute clarity of your business requirements before you start. And number two, as SAP Compal's experience really drove home, that unwavering commitment to data quality, getting your data house in order before you try to move the furniture, that upstream effort, it almost always dictates downstream success.
A really compelling thought to end on. Data quality first. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into SAP S/4HANA data migration. We hope this gives you plenty to think about, whether for your own learning or in your professional life. Until next time.